What's up, everyone? So today what you're about to see is a profiling session, and one of the many profiling sessions that I turned in for my certification at Personality Hacker. So the reason why I'm posting these is so that you can kind of get an idea of how my profiling sessions kind of go, which are essentially me sitting down with you, interviewing you for about an hour and some change. Sometimes we break it up into two parts depending on how difficult the session is, or time constraints, but essentially you pay me to sit down with you. I'll record the session with you, and then we'll find what your best fit Myers-Briggs type is and try to see if you can arrive at the same conclusion of the person's type before the end of the video, to kind of brush up your own skills. This is intended to help you guys see, there will be some stereotypes that are like, oh, this person is a classic ISFJ. And then there could be some others that you would think like, what? But I read in a book that ISTPs are like this. But this one shows up pretty differently, than what you would think, while still using that same function stack. And that's the beauty that I found in Myers-Briggs, and pretty much being able to profile people. Like after profiling many people, then I'm continuing to sharpen what my accuracy is in, profiling the person properly, while also seeing all the nuances of how 100 different INFPs can show up while still using those same functions. So without further ado, check out the following profiling session. Have fun, trying to guess what personality type that the profilee is. Try to see the nuances, some things that might surprise you. And if you would like a profiling session yourself, be sure to hit me up at denzelmensah.com. All right, so let's get this popping. All right. So the way this goes, first off, do you need any water?
No, I'm fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So the way this goes is that I'm going to ask you a series of questions. It's going to be very conversational, to be honest. So even though there's a camera just blaring into your face, just two friends talking. And at the end, my instructor usually prefers that I do a part one and then a part two. So the part one is me just asking you all the questions, and I go and converse with her, come back, and I'm like, all right, so this is what type that we believe that you are. But if it's like glaringly like, okay, if I feel like pretty confident that she's also going to agree with what type that I believe that you are and everything, then I'll just go ahead and explain it. In worst case scenario, I'll show it to her, and then she's going to be like, I disagree. We talk about it, and then I'll be like, all right, I was wrong. So yeah. So just letting you know how the two ways this might go. Like there might be a part two, but yeah, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. There's no wrong answer. If you don't know, take as long as you need to think about it. And at the end, when we do the verification, that's when I start breaking down like what type you are, what I was hearing, all of that, and I can even start giving you like a few tips. And then after, we can also talk about like other stuff on top of that. So killing two birds with one stone. But first and foremost, who are you? Tell me about yourself. Yeah.
Skip. Sorry. Let's see. That's a hard question. Yeah. You don't think that's a hard question?
It depends. Why is it a hard question?
I don't know. It's hard to
There's
explain
gonna be a lot of hard
are.
Questions too.
Okay, so that's probably the easiest one?
No, I wouldn't say it's easiest. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm describing like my personality?
Anything that you want. There's gonna be a lot of open-endedness and no pressure, but it's like the way that you answer every question already tells about you.
Oh my
like
gosh.
Even you just now saying it's a hard question.
So pretty much I lack self-confidence, maybe. So okay, let's see. I feel like I'm all over the place type person.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of emotions. I feel like I have a lot of mood swings.
And this was even before you became pregnant, right?
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty much the same person still.
Yeah, I believe that.
But I feel like I'm very more like reserved when it comes to me being around people that I'm not that close with or don't know very well.
Mm.
But when I'm around people that I'm like comfortable with, I'm just my natural self, and that's just however I feel at that time. Whether I want to talk or don't want to talk, or I'm happy or upset or just whatever.
I feel that.
So like kind of unstable.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah.
Okay.
Guess.
What's your name?
India.
Okay. How old are you?
25.
25. What do you do for work?
I do hair.
Okay. How did you get into that?
I always liked doing hair as a kid, so I just always knew I was gonna do hair.
Were you doing like Barbie doll, Bratz dolls? You seem like a Bratz.
Yeah, I was doing Bratz. I was doing both, but yeah, I was doing dolls' hair at first, and then I just started doing my cousin's hair when I was like 10. I just knew I was gonna do hair.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's what's up. And so, like, you work for a company or like?
No, I just work by myself.
Word.
Yeah.
So like you have like your own. You just set up like your own business in a way.
Yeah.
Dang. Was that hard for you?
It was challenging. I feel like the most challenging part was me just separating myself from people and focusing on what I need to do instead of just doing the actual thing.
Interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So like when I moved here, I was in a relationship with somebody, and then I feel like when I'm in a relationship, I'm not the most focused individual. So after like I don't know, I feel like when I'm in a hurtful place and like that like pushes me the most to be the best version of myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, to an extent, do you like being in a hurt place?
Sometimes, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Can you give me an example?
Well, like
one that, if it's not too personal for you, of course.
Yeah. Well, just basically going back to the first example, like when I was in a relationship and it just was like super toxic and just unstable and just all over the place. I finally realized like, okay, this is not going to work out for me. And although I was like missing that person so much, and it was very hard for me to move on, it brought me into a whole new place in life, and I started experiencing a lot more new things and started seeing things I would never see with that person. Wow. So I was sad, but I was also just learning so much more about myself and about life. And that's happened a few times since then.
Do you have any further examples of like some of those things that you learned about life and about yourself that you would have never seen?
I feel like, okay, so when I was done with that, I like met somebody else new. Mm-hmm. And this person, like the first person, we like didn't have any money for real. So we were always like sharing like $10 meals or just doing super inexpensive things, which is fine. I was only 20 at the time. Well, between 18 and like 21-ish. And then when I met the new person, it was like 5-star dining, get whatever you want. It was like places that, like, to me at that time, Red Lobster was still like,
yeah,
at the top. And,
same.
And so when I started meeting the new person, I'm like, wait, you can get like 10 meals at Red Lobster with like the places that we were going to. So I'm like, oh wow, like, and I was tripping off that for what? So yeah, started experiencing stuff like that and just, opposed to being like, hey, what should we share tonight? To, oh, if you feel like, oh, I'm like, what's this? It's like, oh, if you don't know and you're curious, just get it. You can buy it and just try it. If you don't like it, it's fine.
Wow.
I'm like, are you serious? Like, hold on, am I getting punked right now? Bring the cameras out. But yeah, that was like so exciting to me. I was only 21.
Wow.
So I was like,
okay.
Yeah.
So how has that influenced you now, like as a person? Like, are you still now like, I don't even eat at Red Lobster no more?
No, I'm like in the middle. I'm just so open to everything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I understand people for where they are, but I also know that there's like so many more levels, because the level that I was just describing that excited me so much at 21, I know is not even the top level.
Wow.
So it's like, it's just so much that life has to offer. So no, I would still go to Red Lobster if a friend wanted to. I'm not like, I don't ever crave Red Lobster, but I would still go.
Gotcha.
I would go to McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
better than me. Well, I'll go to Popeyes and stuff like that. But McDonald's, I'll go to McDonald's for the breakfast.
Yeah, for certain things, like a frappe or something, or like, their frappes are good. Yeah.
Okay. You got good taste.
Thank you.
You said that you knew that was like not the highest level.
Right.
Or you know that that's not even the highest level right now. When you were younger and before you got exposed to all of that, did you feel like you were already kind of at the highest level? Did you even have like a concept of what the highest level was?
No, I didn't value money at all. I didn't even think money was like had anything to do with happiness. So when I was younger, I didn't need money for anything because we always had food in our house. Like I grew up in a home where I lived there for like 19 years and I moved out when I was 20. So I moved there when I was 1 years old. So my life was super stable, super set. There was always food in the house. My clothes were always where they're supposed to be, washed, folded, shoes, everything. So it's like I didn't see a need for money because that wasn't something that was like shown to me that money was important. I mean, when I got to a certain age and I would leave the house and my dad would be like, India, where were you? And I'd be like, wherever I was, He'd be like, you don't have any money? And I'm like, no, what do I need money for? He's like, you don't leave the house without money. And I'm like, he's tripping. Like, what do I need money for? I'm chilling out with my friends. So yeah, I feel like no, I didn't see things that way. I didn't even know what designer and stuff was until like I moved here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like now maybe I'm tripping. Like I feel like now all you wear is like designer.
You think so?
Like that.
I do not. I barely have any designer.
Really?
Or what do you mean, like name brand stuff, like Nike?
Name brand.
Okay, name brand.
Isn't designer and name brand different things?
Yeah, I feel like
okay.
yeah, because like name brand, I feel like is like Nike and like Adidas, stuff like that. Designer is more so like Louis Vuitton, Gucci.
Okay, I see.
That's what I kind of feel like.
I see.
But okay. I knew Nike and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like Abercrombie, because that's what the kids were wearing at school
right.
and stuff. And then when I got here, I'm like, oh, you spent how much on a pair of shoes? I'm like, oh, it's different out here. So yeah, I didn't know about that stuff. So I didn't feel like I had to have it because I didn't know of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't important.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many avenues I could take with that. Okay. First off, you said that when you were younger, you didn't really see money as like a form of like happiness or anything like that. Would you say that now, since you said when you were younger you didn't feel that way, would you say like now that's different, or you're like actually no, I still feel the same? Or
no, I feel like it definitely will make you a lot happier.
Yeah.
Simply because we need it. That's just one reason why. And yeah, it's like it's not fun when you can't do stuff.
Yeah.
When you have to sit down. Yeah, so for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. Okay, well, speaking of doing stuff, this is a question that I ask everyone, usually at the beginning of the session. And that is, what are some things that you love to do? And when I say that you love to do, it means you love to do so much. Only reason why you stop is because you're absolutely exhausted. Otherwise, you would go on indefinitely.
Okay. Being on my phone.
Okay.
That sounds crazy, but yes, I just be switching from different stuff. I'm like, oh, let me go on Amazon, or let me go on Instagram. I don't want to be on that. Let me go on Twitter. Oh, let me play a game. That's just, yeah. You
be playing games on your phone too?
Yeah, I only play one game, but that's when I'm like, want to just think and not have to think about the actual game. It's like a little bubble game, so I just do like the little, it's not a thinking game, so I can think and do it at the same time.
Interesting. So
without staring at the wall.
Right. Yeah. Do you do a lot of staring at the wall?
No.
Okay, why not?
I feel like I space out sometimes, but then I'm like, no, that's not. It's not. And then I'm like, what are you doing to myself? I'm like, okay, I don't really like to do that.
Yeah. Would you say that you're someone who is usually like aware of your surroundings and like in the moment and like present?
No.
Okay.
I would say I'm not aware of my surroundings and not observant, because like people always say that I need to pay attention because they're like, oh, you never know what can happen. But I'm like, I also feel like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. What is me being aware gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure it can kind of save a little bit of time, but it's like, I don't know, I'm just not the type of person that thinks like, oh my gosh, is something about to happen? You know? I just kind of like, I'm chilling.
Okay.
But I like to sit in my car, so I would say like, I'm not. I don't want to say not big on safety, but I'm just saying I'm not like big on always thinking something wrong is gonna happen.
Do you feel like you're able to respond quickly?
Yeah.
to things? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Like if a fire alarm went off, I would be like, oh, you know.
Got you.
But if somebody says, look at this, I'd be like, probably be a little bit slower.
Okay.
Because it's not like an alarm. Like, you have to do it. It's like, and if I don't catch it, they're like, bro, I'm like, dude, I don't care. I didn't see it. Oh, well, like.
That makes sense. So you're not really constantly aware, scanning your surroundings.
Right.
If don't let me put words in your mouth, but like if I understand correctly, it's because you feel like you're a quick responder. So if you really, which is why you pretty much said like, oh, like if I, if something's gonna happen, then it's just gonna happen.
Right.
Wow.
You just gotta do what you do in that moment,
Got you. Okay. Got you. What types of things do you think about when you're playing your bubble game?
Everything, like things I need to do that I probably could be doing instead of playing that game. It's like, yeah, my to-do list, I feel like my to-do list is so lengthy and I'm just not quick to get into it, but it always gets done before it needs to be done.
Oh, really?
But I would probably get so much more done if I just did things, or I wouldn't be as like overwhelmed with how much I have to do if I would just do things a little bit more swiftly.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think about stuff like that. I think about my life. I think about my decisions and how they've gotten me to where I am. But I don't dwell on that too much because like it is what it is. And then yeah, stuff like that.
Gotcha. You're giving gold. Okay. All right. I wanted to revisit that flow question again. So you talked about being on your phone. What other things do you like to do? Like just until you're like absolutely exhausted, or you could keep on going even if you weren't exhausted.
I like to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
What types of things do you read?
I've only read so far like straight novels, but I've read like over 20 books of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you find interesting about those?
The lifestyles, the backgrounds of the characters, and how they go about their daily lives. Yeah.
Okay. So.
And I usually like the worst characters best.
Why is that?
Because it's like, if somebody, not in real life, but in the book, it's like, maybe because I get to know them a little bit more, but when they do certain things like kill people or like sell drugs, like large loads, it just always makes sense why they do what they do. It's like they're not just doing stuff just to be like, oh, I'm this big and bad person. It's just the cards they were dealt, and it just makes sense sometimes.
Interesting. Are you good at being able to get into the perspective of other people?
Yeah, I usually really, really, really like things that other people say they don't like.
Oh, really?
Like when an album comes out and people are like, I hate it. I wait to listen to it, and then I'm like, this is fire.
Huh. Okay.
Because I feel like because a bunch of other people don't like it, it's like, I want to like it.
Ah, interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. Okay. Is there anything else that you love doing?
Hanging around my family, of course. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what are some things that you pretty much like the opposite, you like hate doing? Like the moment you start to, you just want to pull your hair out or something. Besides staring at walls.
Like right now I'm in the process of getting rid of stuff in my house. Like I have a lot of stuff. I don't like doing that. Yeah.
Okay. What else? What's up, man?
Job too.
Profiling session.
Nice.
Yeah.
What else do I like to do? Well, hate doing. I hate confrontation when I'm the person that did something wrong, quote unquote, did something wrong, and I'm not in like a receptive place at that moment. I don't like talking about it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's hard to think about what I don't like doing because I probably don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easy for you to?
Oh, I don't like paying bills. It's like so annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it. It's just I know I have to do it. But yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I know. Like I always see those memes where it's like, "Thanks for your payment of." I get upset.
Exactly.
As soon as you get the
Don't
text.
think of me.
I feel that. Okay. Well, what are some ways that other people would describe you, even if you disagreed?
Okay. I would say they say I'm charismatic, willing to go above and beyond for other people. Attitude, um, like when I'm not in the mood, I'm just not in the mood. If I'm over it, I'm just over it. Um, I don't stay mad for long. It's usually brief, but when I am mad, it's just like fiery but brief. Um, what else? Loving, kind. Mean and nice. I would say just straightforward.
Straightforward.
Honest. I consider myself to be a pretty honest individual.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I just say how I feel, and then it's just how I feel. I don't feel the need to lie or to make somebody feel better.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Do you prefer other people are that way with you too?
No.
Why is that?
Because if it's gonna hurt my feelings, you don't have to lie, but let's just not talk about it.
Gotcha. That's hilarious. Okay. How would you describe yourself, even if other people disagree?
I would describe myself the same way, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you said the straightforward thing, and you said that because you also said kind, and then you said but also mean, and then you're like, I'd say straightforward. Like, are you saying so you would erase the kind but also mean?
Yeah.
Just put, gotcha. Okay, cool. Are you someone who prefers when people just say things like just straight, just like how it is, versus something that you might have to read into? Are you good at being able to read into stuff?
No, I hate when people talk in riddles and parables and
yeah.
stuff. That's annoying. But also you don't have to be that blunt with me. You don't have to be as blunt as I am. Because it's not necessary. Most of the time, it's just not necessary.
Why are you that blunt then?
Because I have to be.
Because you have to be?
Yeah.
That's just.
I have to be true to me.
Yeah.
I gotta be true to myself.
Okay.
Because sometimes I feel like people aren't being true to themselves. They're just trying to match. Don't match. Be you.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to be true to yourself?
Not ignoring my feelings. If I have to cry, I'm gonna cry. If I have to just chill, then I'm gonna chill. But I have to do whatever I feel I need to do in those moments. Rationally, but still, I have to feel it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Are you usually tapped into your feelings?
Mm-hmm.
So you always
until I'm not.
Oh, until you're not.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
If I don't care anymore, or if I feel like my feelings aren't being received in a way that I would like them to be received, then I either just stop feeling that way, or I feel like I stop feeling that way because I stop thinking about it.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So would you say that you have a nuanced view of your feelings?
What does nuance mean?
Yeah, pretty much all right, well, this is a riddle, so you ready?
Okay. I'm ready to solve
it. So if say, for example, there's, what a painter's palette is, right?
A what?
A painter's palette. No problem. Actually, I'm trying to find, wow, how do I explain nuance? It's would you say that you have a very detailed view of your feelings, or would you say that it's kind of binary, happy, sad, angry, whatever? You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like it's a little more detailed because I know why I feel that way.
Yeah? So you're always able to trace back why you feel it, the way you feel and everything. Got you. Have you always been that way?
I feel like that, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. When you say not ignoring your feelings, what makes you not ignore it? What makes you prioritize going to your feelings in that way?
Because something inside me just won't let me not feel it or not speak on it.
Wow.
It's I seriously try. I'm look, that's not even what I'm talking about. Just leave it alone. And then I can't. I have to say it.
Yeah.
like that's like within like 15 minutes. I'm like, it's not working out for me. So yeah, I just feel like, and then it doesn't work out for me though when I do that. Because I feel like I don't let it settle enough to approach it in a way where the person doesn't get mad. Because I'm mad, so I'm like, okay, so.
Okay. Does that go for positive, more happy feelings too?
No. Oh, well, yeah. I just feel like I'm overbearing in general. So when I feel like somebody looks pretty, I just keep saying it. To the point where they're like, they probably don't know what to say anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna chill. But yeah, I just feel like I just come off very strong.
Yeah.
When I care or when I'm passionate about something.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess, if I were to ask you head over heart or heart over head, then which would you pick?
That's hard. I have to say both.
Both?
Yeah.
What makes you say both?
If I'm just really feeling it intensely, it would just be heart over head. But when I get by myself and I just start making better decisions, it'll be head over heart.
Got you.
Yeah.
Which one would you say is the best for you in making the decisions that you make?
For a better outcome?
Yeah.
Head over heart.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And why would you say that?
Because the way my heart works, I don't know how other people's are, but like, I don't know, it's kind of like my way or the highway. And then when I think of my head, it's like, okay, well maybe they feel some type of way too, even if they're not expressing it. Because I tend to like find myself having conflict the most with people who don't express themselves. Because I express myself so much, I'm like, they're like, oh, you are stressing me out, or you're being overbearing by always putting your feelings on me. And I'm like, well, since you never say your feelings, I feel like you don't feel anything. I feel like you're always fine. So because I talk about it and it's always, oh, you always got something to say or this and that, and it's like, okay, well, that's how I feel. And I feel like I'm a little bit ahead of them because I'm always caught up to my feelings.
Right.
And they bottle them inside. So it's like, oh, I haven't gone through so much too, but it's like, you didn't say that. How am I supposed to know? I could have helped you.
Right. And I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not the type of person who likes to try to guess.
No.
And like.
No, I'm not guessing. I can read people in some like situations where it's like, maybe they do feel a little bit differently than what they're saying. But I'm not gonna try too hard because I got a lot going on too. So just tell me. Yeah. That's why I feel like I don't expect people to read how I feel.
Yeah.
But I understand people are like that too. But I'm just saying I don't expect people to be like, I wonder what's wrong with India today. Right. I'll tell you.
You're just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you don't want other people. Well, yeah, that's where I'm still, because you said also that you don't want people to be always straightforward.
Well, they can be straightforward about their feelings.
Okay.
But not about me.
Okay.
There's different ways to say stuff. Like, well, I guess I can say that for myself too. I can approach things differently. But it's like, if you don't like my hair, you can say like, wait, don't say anything if you don't like my hair.
Unless if they.
I just feel like that's not necessary. Yeah. Because exactly. I wouldn't, if I'm not straightforward about someone's appearance, I'm straightforward about everything else. But it's like, you say, oh, like, look, I'm pregnant, and I'm like, oh, India, you're really packing on the pounds. It's like, obviously.
Thanks.
Right. It's like certain stuff you just don't say. Like, I just wouldn't say appearance is off the list. Like, don't say anything about appearance. Everything else, I feel like I can probably take.
Okay.
Even if I have to think about it later and just come back and be like, okay, well, I understand where you're coming from, blah, blah, blah.
Got you. Okay. Would you say that you have a natural knack for how you look and like aesthetics and things of that nature?
Like do I try to always look nice?
Yeah. Like, do you have like a talent for style, fashion, appearing, good looking, stuff like that?
I feel like I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like when I do, like, sometimes it happens naturally. Like when I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to wear, and then I'll just find something random. I'm like, oh, this happened to really work out. But other times I feel like I try, or I feel like I know how to do my makeup well, and then I know how to make my hair look nice. So that automatically is just like half the battle. And then the outfit is like, okay. But natural, I don't know. I just feel like Libras dress the best.
Which is not you. You're a Capricorn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you say that Libras dress the best? How did you notice this pattern?
Because Libras, like, they just always be doing it so nicely. They know how to stack their clothes. I feel like I'm just a one layer type person. I don't really know how to stack my clothes like that. And also, like, New Yorkers don't really know how to dress. When I've been to New York a couple times, I'm like, wow. Like, and then what I like about New Yorkers is that everyone dresses so different and they're just themselves.
That's facts.
And then in Atlanta, it's like BBO fashion only. You know what I'm saying? It's just always emphasis on your body, and if you can't do that, then it's like it doesn't matter what you wear, your just body has to be accentuated. So and then New York is like you got the girls with no butt, like with so much style. But here it doesn't matter what you're wearing if you don't have a body.
Wow. And you picked up on all of that pattern, like New York, Atlanta,
LA, like so many different fashions.
Really? How did you pick up on all of this?
I just observe, like, I don't know, I just can see, like, when I've only been to New York twice. Wow. And I was there briefly, but I was there, I'm just like, well, I would sit down sometimes because y'all, when it comes to walking, y'all got it. I did not walk as fast as y'all or as long, and you guys just walk for so long, just like in heels and everything. I'm just like, y'all are just so fashionable. I'm just like, wow, but I realized that New York doesn't just have one set fashion. Everybody can be themselves and express themselves how they desire to, and it's all just accepted. And here it's just not like that. Yeah. And then LA is more so like that too. It's more of a, just, I don't know, modern aesthetic. Atlanta's like you have to have the big lashes, the long hair. It's like you have to have so much money to be somebody here. Yeah. Or to appear as somebody. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually a really talented skill. That's a skill that you have there. Because to like be able to pick up on the different trends that different demographics and just areas are, dressing like that's really interesting. I knew only because I lived in New York for so long, like you can just wear whatever you want over there. But at the same time, I know, you've known me for a long time, so you know how I used to dress.
Right.
And it's like, it's kind of like, I think that's kind of like what made it a little bit worse too, for me, because over there, everyone is just who they want to be. And so, like, I remember, like, my friend David, like, he would have, like, a V-neck, and then he would just wear, like, a suit vest over it and skinny jeans. That's fire. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
And then now, like, I'm with Jamila and everything, and sometimes, like, I want to wear, like, I have, like, vests upstairs and everything. I just want to wear it over, like, a V-neck or something. Like, she's like, no. I'm like, I thought it looks like, she's like, no, it's giving Big Time Rush. Wow. That's
hilarious.
Okay. Yeah, so it's really interesting, because like in New York, you're right. Like, now that you mention it, it's like, oh, I could get away with something like that because people look at it, but oh, that's just style. Like, I like that. Then like anywhere else, like Jamila's not from New York, she's from Baltimore, so it's like,
what are you wearing?
Like
and it's like, yeah. And also in New York, I noticed that a lot of people have model walks. When they walk down the street, I'm just like, wow, like they just have it. Like, it makes me think like you're going somewhere. If you're not already somewhere, I'm just like, wow, that's so dope. But yeah.
Do you feel like you're going somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Where are you going?
Somewhere. I know I'm going somewhere. I know I'm not going anywhere, but I know I'm going somewhere. I don't know where the place is yet.
Okay. Are you someone, when it comes to the past, the present, and the future, put those in order for what your mind spends the most time on and why?
Wow.
From greatest to least.
Okay. Future, from greatest to least. Future the most.
Okay.
Past the next, and then present probably the least.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Why do you put it in that order?
Because present is so hard to focus on.
Yeah.
For me, it's like what life is right now is just what life is. So I try to accept things. Like, once I get over like feeling so hard, I just come to an acceptance place. And then it's like, but the past I feel is very important because it's and like it's all of who I am.
Mm.
And then the future is just like, future is number one in my head, mainly because I'm like about to be a mom. So it's like, I want to do this. Like, should I do this, that, this way or that way? And just planning and just, yeah. I try to put most of my focus there though.
Okay. So is that like you said, it's mainly because you're about to be a mom? Was it still like that even before, or?
Yeah, I would say at a certain point it did get like that. Probably at like 24.
Mm. Do you get paranoid about your future, like when you're thinking about it? No.
Nah.
Why is that?
Because like why? Why should I?
Why should you not?
Because I just know that everything's gonna work out. Like not even just work out for the bare minimum. It's gonna work out at the greatest point that it can work out.
Wow.
That's how I see my future.
Wow.
And when I say future, I don't even think far. I'm just like, yeah, like I wouldn't have like well, I can't say I would never, but I don't have a 5-year plan or anything like that. It's just constantly progressing.
Constantly progressing.
But not putting pressure on myself to be at this point by this time.
How far out do you think into the future?
Probably like just to the end of next year.
End of next year. Okay. Got it. Would you say that you're someone who you're kind of like a shark that's just like always moving, and you're just hoping that that's where you're gonna, like, you're just gonna be eventually getting there? Or are you, yeah, like would you say that's how you like relate, or are you someone who's like paralyzed a lot of times?
Probably paralyzed, probably, because it's like I make my move when I make my move, and then my moves always seem to be what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not just constantly like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. Like I'm not just so antsy about what's to come.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you ever paranoid of what other people are thinking of you?
No.
No? Why is that?
Because I don't care. No, and that probably sounds so like, oh yeah, she's just another person that says she doesn't care, but I like literally don't.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
What makes you not care?
Because it's like, that's not how I feel about myself. So if you say that, then it's like, okay.
Okay.
Like trying to tell me the sky is yellow, like, okay, you're just talking. That's not even true.
You did actually bring something up recently about oranges and apples.
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear this. I'm sure that my instructor would love to hear about this too.
What was I forgot what I was explaining, but oh yeah, I guess what I was saying was when you come to a person and you're trying to not even convince them, but just show them that this is an apple, but they want to see it as an orange, and I'm just so like, it's just not an orange. Because it's not an orange. You can't convince me that it's an orange because I see that it's an apple. But to them, it's like it's an orange or it can be both. But it's like it can't be both. It's just an apple. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. I forgot in what context I was describing it the other day. But yeah.
Okay. I know that you said you forgot the context, but do you have like any examples of an apple versus orange situation?
No, I don't have a detailed explanation. It's just, which I don't think is a good thing. I would like to change about myself. It's just that if I feel this is that, then that's what that is. Which, what I was explaining before, doesn't go well for me, because if you come at a person like that and be like, oh, this is that, and to them it's not that, or I could potentially be invalidating their feelings that moment, or even invalidating their truth or what the truth actually is, then it's like either you're going to argue with me or you're going to shut down and you're not going to explain yourself anymore ever again. Because it's like no matter what I say, you're still going to see it as that. So what's the point of wasting my time?
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. That's interesting. Okay. I'm trying to see where I should go with that. Well, actually, I'll hop into this area. I'm going to jump into your childhood.
Okay.
So, how would you say that you were like as a child?
I would say that I was fun. I had like, I had different friend groups, which I still do to this day. I had like my white friends because I grew up in like a predominantly white school system.
Mm.
And then I had my black friends that, yeah, I had my black friends too, but I didn't mix them just because it's like, I just knew it wasn't going to mix.
Mm.
Just like oil and water.
Mm.
I always knew from a young age, like, oh, that's not going to go together.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
I knew how to be cool with them and cool with them, but like, I definitely didn't talk about them to each other. I was just, that.
Yeah, I get that.
So, yeah, sorry, what was the question?
No, you're good. How were you like as a child?
Oh, yeah, that, well, as far as school, at home, I grew, well, eventually, like after some years, my cousin started living with me, and my aunt was living with me too, and she took care of her grandkids, so they started living with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up around kids, and it was just fun. We just had fun, went outside. We never, like, I think this is really interesting. So when people offer me stuff, I can say, like, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. Like, say somebody was like, hey, Indy, you want me to grab me some food? Like, if I'm not hungry, I'm going to say no, thank you. I'm not going to say yes because you just offered it to me and I won't have to spend my own money.
Yeah.
So some people will say yes because they won't have to spend their own money. Like, oh, I guess I could go for X, Y, and Z. But you're not even that hungry, so why say yes?
Right.
But when I was, the way I was raised is there was always food in my house, and there was never a like closed time on the kitchen. Like you could always go in there if you're hungry or thirsty. So I feel like that gave me a discipline to be like, oh, well, I don't want it, so I'm just not gonna do it. But people that, which I've come in contact with some people that are close to me who grew up where they didn't usually have enough food in the house, or like they always had to fight over this and that, so they usually like used to steal a lot of stuff out of their own house because there wasn't enough. So it's like when people offer them, it's like, oh yeah, I'll go for that. Or when people say they'll do this or that, they're just like, oh, they're always taking. But me, I'm like, what's the point of wasting it if I don't really want it?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's good. I think it also goes back to your straightforward thing too. Like, I really feel like people don't really ever have to guess with you, because yeah, like it's like, oh, I think even when we went to church like a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, I don't know, whenever that was, and I was like, oh, did you want to go out to like breakfast with us? Whatever. Like, oh no, thank you. Like I have groceries at home. Like because of the type of person that you are, then because I would have thought to myself like, oh well, should I say like, are you sure? Like we'll pay or like whatever. But because like I just know how you are in general, or I believe that I do, and I know okay, no, India, like if she really was down for it, she would have just said. There's not really. I don't have to guess with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that makes sense, and it's cool that you had that like even as a like even while you were young. How would your family have described you?
Probably funny, grumpy, especially when I'm being like awakened, when I'm not done sleeping. Oh my gosh, it's like you've never seen that side of me. It's really bad. Because I'm just so irritated. Like, what could you possibly want in these moments right now? Like, somebody better be dying. I'm like, what? Like, somebody's like, India. I'm like, what? I'm asleep. Or they call me like I'm asleep. And they try to ask a question. I'm like, I'm asleep. They're like, okay, well, I'll call you later. Okay, great. But yeah. So grumpy, and just like when I was younger, like when I got a phone, I feel like that just completely changed me.
Yeah.
In a negative way.
Oh.
Because I wasn't like...
that is the thing that you just love to be on, right?
Yeah, which I need to stop. I'm trying to work on that. Well, I need to start working on that. But yeah, when I was younger and I got a phone, I just feel like I wasn't as present with my family.
Okay.
Which I started to regret like when I moved away. Because I'm like, I missed so many moments that I was actually in.
Interesting. So back then, even like, what were you doing on your phone?
Same stuff I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bubble games.
Just like
shopping on
social media. Yeah, I wasn't even on Amazon yet, but yeah, I was probably on social media a lot, which I don't like to do as much now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how has your social media presence evolved over time?
I feel like I don't Well, in the beginning, I was like so obsessed with it. I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. Like when I was first on Instagram, and then like I don't know if you remember, but before you would hit like 13 likes, it would show all the names that liked your picture.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was in ninth grade. I was English class, and I got 13 likes on a picture. I was like, holy lit! I got 13 likes. That's so cool! Oh my gosh! And yeah, but I feel like I was a lot more. Well, I know I was a lot more active then. I used to post a lot more, and I was really more into like my outfits and stuff. I was really into like vintage, thrifty type stuff, and that's just not me anymore. I'm not like that. But social media, I used to talk about God a lot more, and then now it's more so. I feel like I have a more of a practical approach instead of just putting information out so quickly. I like to learn a little bit more, like instead of just being like, "Oh, this is the truth" because I just read it and it resonates with me.
Right.
I try to like think like, okay, well, try to just think about others and what they're going to see that I'm putting out.
True.
Yeah.
No, I feel that. You said that you're not really like, because you used to post like a lot of like thrifting, vintage type stuff. What made you change from that?
I think moving here made me change a lot. Like, because when I first moved here, I was like in that relationship, and it was like a real like I was like really in like a churchy type environment. So not saying a God environment, but really just church, like how I was dressing and how the type of people I was around, the way they spoke, and just very robotic, I would say. Then I started to figure out who I was after that. And well, I went through a time period where I got really sad, so I was only wearing hoodies and stuff. And then my friend had told me about it. She was like, India, if I see this hoodie one more time. She told me, and I was like, wow, I probably never would have noticed and if she didn't say that.
Wow.
And I was like, dang, other people noticed too. And I'm like, wow. So then I like started trying to look better and I started feeling better after I started looking better.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
Like, because if you still feel the same internally, you're not someone to ignore your feelings, and you just changing your hoodie, that's not going to change anything, right? But in this case, it did.
Yeah. So when I look better, I really do actually feel better. Well, since towards the end of my pregnancy, not really. That doesn't really hold any weight because it's just starting to get uncomfortable, and I'm starting to think about a lot of different stuff more. So, yeah, but like I would say my first trimester, my second trimester, and even like a little bit at the beginning of my third trimester, like looking good made me feel better. But now it's kind of like looking good doesn't really make me feel better because like my stomach is so big and I'm not like trying to.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I know you're not like that. But
I'm really not. I'm just being honest. But I'm like, dang, like I'm starting to look crazy. In my opinion, I'm like, this is starting to look crazy. But also, then I'll go out and stuff, and like I was at the gas station on Sunday, and I got out the car, and this man yelled out his car, and he was like, "You look good," and I was like, I just looked at him. He was like, "No, you really look good," and I was like, "Thanks." Like, wow, but it's just funny. I don't know. It made me feel a little bit good.
That's good.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. So it's not hard for you to I guess accept what other people tell you in that regard.
Yeah, in that regard, when it comes to strangers, probably. Because if a stranger says it, then it's like, and you don't try to talk to me or anything, it's probably true.
Got you.
Then if like people that are close to me though, they're seeing me like change and stuff. Well, my face hasn't really changed. It's really just my stomach, honestly. But it's like still, I don't like that they like say stuff like.
Like anything at all.
Some things are fine, but it's just like, what's the point of saying that? I feel like I kind of understand a little bit how big people feel when it's always talked about. And skinny people too. Well, skinny never bothered me because I always been skinny, so call me skinny, I don't really care. But bigger people, when they're like, it's like, what's the point of saying something? I never said anything about a big person's weight. I never even thought to. Like, what can they change in that very moment about it?
Yeah, that's true. But even though I mean, pregnancy is just a natural thing. Everyone goes through it. They know that you're not fat. Obviously, it's just a baby, and like as soon as the baby's out, then you're gonna be back to normal. Like that still bothers you?
Yeah, I think it's like just specific people that say it that bother me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Why specific people?
Cause it's like certain people that just shouldn't be saying it, and it's just hurts my feelings.
Okay. They shouldn't be saying stuff so unnecessarily blunt and straightforward.
Just don't say anything about it at all.
Just don't say anything. Yeah.
If it's not like positive, or it's like, now if you said I look nice or something like that, that's different.
Yeah.
But to just say, wow, or like also commenting when I eat.
Oh, that is odd.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna eat.
Yeah.
And then plus also like I feel like in my pregnancy I haven't, well not even I feel like, no, I'm like on the lowest end of the spectrum of gaining weight. Like exactly where I'm supposed to be. So it's not like I gained 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Or 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm literally only gained like 23 pounds. And some people gain like the weights I just said. So
yeah, I've seen. Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just something that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. That's good to know. That's really good to know. What would you say is something that's very obvious to you, or things that are very obvious to you, but not obvious to other people? Like you're just like, yo, how am I always noticing this or that? And like, is everyone else like not noticing this or not seeing this? And then after that, like some things that are the other way around. Like, yeah, other people are always noticing. So, India, how do you never notice these things? Or how do you never like see this?
Okay. I guess when I try to communicate, I notice that like it needs to be communicated, but other people feel like it's not necessary to talk about. But it's always like super necessary to talk about. And also it bothers me because I feel like people think I'm just talking just to talk about everything I say. I feel like I would like it to be talked about. Sometimes I just want to understand why or how or what. And others feel like it's just bothersome or just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Or like I'm trolling them.
Yeah. Got you. That makes sense. Yeah.
Now another thing, well, what people feel like, what was the other question?
Pretty much like the reverse.
Okay.
So things that everyone else notices, but then you're like, whoa.
Everyone else notices. That was hard. I have to come back to that one.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. When it comes to very abstract, philosophical, and conceptual topics, how are you usually like in those conversations? Like, are you the leader? Are you the listener? Are you like annoyed by them?
What type of conversations?
Like abstract, philosophical, and conceptual conversations.
Like what's that?
So if I was to, for example, bring up the idea of like, you and I right now don't even really exist. We live in a simulation.
Sorry, I guess I just answered it. I would just listen.
You would just listen?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because because I don't think about those type of things, so I would just hear people out. Got you.
How do you feel about those types of things?
Well, it was just funny to me just now when you just said that.
Why is that?
Because it's like,
I'm not offended, by the way. You said sorry.
It's funny to me because
that's a good response.
It's just funny because I just don't think about it.
But why don't you think about stuff like that?
Because I'm too busy thinking about other stuff.
Like what?
Like, well, it seems so small compared to that. Just my life.
Your life? Well, but that is your life, right? What if your life?
I'm like, okay, I'll have to pick this up another day. But yeah. But I don't know. I just don't like. You talking about aliens and stuff?
That too, yeah.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just nah.
It just doesn't like. It doesn't interest me. And that's how I was in school. I didn't do well in school because most topics didn't interest me. So why would I engage if it doesn't interest me? So I would probably just listen.
Gotcha.
Well, which is better than in school because I would just go to sleep.
And when you're just listening, even though it doesn't interest you, like, how does listening work?
Well, if it's, I would probably just be respectful and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a particular part that is very interesting, then I'll either engage or just be like thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's too many people talking, I won't say anything anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you someone who's more prone to act too impulsively or to act too late?
Impulsively.
Impulsively? Why do you say that?
Because I have to. No, and because I also, if I don't do it right away, I will probably forget to do it.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real good. Okay. 2 nightmare situations. Nightmare situation number 1. You are in a home, we'll say pretty much like this one, but it's full of all the people that you love for 3 weeks to a month. You don't get any alone time. Or you're on an island completely alone, but you have Netflix, food, games, your iPhone games, all of that. The only thing is you can't you can't text anyone. You can't communicate with anybody pretty much for that whole 3 to 4 weeks. Which one is more of a nightmare for you?
And any type of food on the island?
Any type of food on the island.
Okay. If there's food in the house with the people.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Any type of food? Okay, let's see. It's more of a nightmare to be in the house with the people.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's overbearing. It's just like, although it's scary to be myself for that long, I feel like I would come out a better person. The other one, I feel like I would come out a worse person. An irritated person and just impatient, just so many things negative would happen to me and at times for him.
Wow, that's a really good perspective. I haven't received that answer before. That's interesting. I like that. Okay. No, that's fair. What was one more that I wanted to learn to? I'm trying to catch it again. Hold on, let me go back on my notes.
You're fine.
Right. Okay. So, would other people describe you as a organized person?
In what sense?
In whatever sense that you're thinking of.
Probably not.
Yeah. Why not?
Because I dwell on the wrong things that cause me to neglect things that are actually important in real life.
Such as?
Like, I emphasize my feelings too much opposed to some things that actually need to get done.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. Would other people consider you to be a bossy person?
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little more about that?
Probably controlling.
Controlling?
So I feel uncomfortable when things aren't going the way I envision them to go.
And are you good at being able to enforce and make things go the way that you want them to go?
No.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't say it the right way. And then when I do say it the right way, I feel like it doesn't feel as good. It's like it's getting done, but it's like it was too easy.
It was too easy.
Yeah. I don't know. That sounds crazy. But what was the other thing? Oh, I would say people wouldn't consider me to be not unorganized, but probably unstable.
Unstable. Okay.
Mentally. But not unstable in real life. Like, everything gets done in my life. Everything, like, auto pay type life.
Okay.
So everything's pretty much organized, but there's not much stability.
What about structure? Do you prefer structure in your life, or do you prefer more open-endedness?
Structure, for sure.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on.
Okay. Okay. Got you.
But I always find myself connecting with people who are spontaneous. I'm not spontaneous.
You're not a spontaneous person?
No. Unless it just happens to work out for me that day. Somebody's like, hey, Andy, are you busy? Let's go to something to eat. And it's like, if I'm bored, I'm like, oh, bet that works. But if I feel like overwhelmed in my life, I'm not leaving the house. So.
Gotcha.
And then also I feel like it's, better for me not to sleep too, because when I'm overwhelmed, I can't even be there. I could be there and then just still, like, you'll realize, like, oh, she probably doesn't want to be here right now. Or it's not that I don't want to be there, it's just that my mind is just so many other places. So I'd rather be in a space where I can just really be here. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's good.
So when it comes to maybe like punctuality, would other people say that like you're a pretty punctual person?
No.
Got you. Okay. And then you said that you're not a spontaneous person, but are you good at being able to, like, if something's thrown at you, like last minute or whatever, are you able to like finesse that and handle it really well and like, oh yeah, that was a piece of cake? Or are you like stressed out about stuff like that?
And no, if I'm stressed out about it, I'm not going to do it. But if it works out, it just depends on what the situation is. Like, if somebody hit me and was like, India, can you do my hair today? I probably will say no.
Oh yeah.
But if a celebrity said, can you do my hair today? And I never did it before, I would say yes, because that makes more sense for my life.
Right.
Because content and would just be better for my business. It's more so about the content than it is about the money. It's about, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, or if somebody said, can you do my hair today? Then this would be about the money. They say, can you do my hair today? I got $500 for you. I could do it today.
Gotcha. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good to know.
It's like, yeah.
I believe that.
You know what? My schedule just cleared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's good. You prioritize in that way. I feel like there was like one more question that I had for you. Because yeah, I feel pretty confident about what your personality type is, so I might go ahead and do it, and then I'll also see what my instructor thinks.
All right, are you going to tell her on the camera?
Yeah. Are you going to tell her on the camera? Trying to find it again. Dang, I'm so upset that I forgot to look this up again.
No, it's okay.
You describe yourself as fun, charismatic, things like that, even like when you were younger. But then you also seem to describe yourself as someone who doesn't like people. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I say charismatic because I'm willing to like I go out of my way for people in the sense of just like if somebody needs to go to the airport, then I'll take them to the airport. It doesn't matter what time it is. If they need to be there for you, I'll make sure they get there for you. And then if I said I would do it and I no longer can do it, I would send them an Uber because I feel like it's my responsibility because I said I would do it. If somebody didn't have food in their house and they let me know, I'll make sure we go get groceries or if they want to eat for that day. That's just, like basic stuff, I feel like.
Yeah.
that most people don't do for people, in my opinion, because when I ask, it's like usually like a no or they can't. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm a giving person, but not always the most open person when it comes to people that I don't know. So it's like, yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got that. Okay. And I remember the questions now.
Okay, cool.
So would you say that you're someone who prefers variety? Would you say that you're someone who prefers variety? Like more options the better, or are you someone that like gets overwhelmed by options?
In anything?
In anything, yeah. But if you have like examples of like stuff that if you're like a yes and no, then you can definitely explain that.
Okay. Options, too many options would be like if I'm trying to pick out a new scent. A scent, like a perfume.
Scent, got you.
Yeah, it's like I'll go get a new perfume and I end up not getting anything because it's like I smelled way too many things today. And I don't even know. I feel like I'm not making a conscious decision. So what else? If I'm looking at new apartments and stuff, I feel like, well, I like options in that sense. Yeah. But then I still end up not picking anything because everything's starting to look the same and then the prices are too high. So I'm like, just forget it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scenario where I wouldn't like, well, I just gave you two different ones, didn't I?
Yeah. What about even like, I don't know, this is personal, whatever, like even like with guys, for example, like, is it like, oh man, I would just love to have like options to choose from, then just like as one example, or would you feel more like, no, I'm very looking for like I would really just prefer like just one person just come to me?
I would say I would prefer options if there were multiple like eligible options. Opposed to just options.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to meet different people and to date around and just get to know people. Yeah.
Okay, got you. So yeah, if there like 5 eligible like good options.
Oh, that's overwhelming.
That's overwhelming. Okay.
I just said I wanted that, and I just realized I don't. When you explained it, it's too much. Like, did you see that girl on Twitter, lady? She was like describing like dating, what is okay and what's not. She was like, if you meet, like I think she said like 3 examples. If you meet like 3 people on, let's say Tinder, right? And then you're dating them. Like you're not having sex with them, but you're dating them, and you like all 3 of them for 3 different reasons. Like you like this person because they want a white picket fence and children like you, and you like this one because he likes to travel and blah blah blah, and then you like that person because of I don't know, maybe you guys are both into fashion or something cool.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so she likes all 3 of them for different reasons.
Right.
But really, she should just drop all 3 of them because none of them are fully what you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? I mean, although nobody can be what you're fully looking for, it's just like when all 3 of those things are just equally important to you, you have to get rid of all of them. Because you'll never, I feel like that because you'll never be satisfied. Because you're settling.
That's good.
Because if all 3 of those things are, like, it would be different if one of them was just like, I don't really need that. Or it's like, you know?
And so you do feel freedom and openness to be like, all right, another one is going to come to me.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it?
There, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot of people who would feel like, okay, no, I have to pick from one of these 3.
Right.
Because I'm never going to get something like this again.
Right. And that's why they don't. That's how life works. Yeah, but it's like, I don't act like I always feel like more will come to me because I fight so hard for what I do have. But when I fight hard for stuff, I'm passionate about it, and I let them know that if I do let go, it's like you know what I'm saying? It's like if I drop something off a cliff, how would I ever find that again?
Yeah. Wow.
Why would I even care to pick it up again? Why would I care to go down there and look for it?
Wow.
So if I drop it, then just make sure you're okay with that decision. It will be hard for me to make that decision, but it won't be hard for me to find something else. I mean, that conversation doesn't go well with that person. You know what I'm saying? But so I try not to say, oh, I can always find this and that. That's not necessary. It's just true.
It's just true. Got you.
But yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect. All right. Well, I feel like we are about done. But before that, and before I like present like what type that I believe that you are and what all this even means, I would love to know. I know that you said that yesterday there was something specific that you wanted to share, or you said that you feel like you've changed in some way since the last time that we spoke or something. I would love to know like what did you mean by that?
I feel like I've just, because when we were talking about that one time, like, do you want to talk about this one on camera or off camera? Is it necessary?
It depends. Is it personal for you?
I feel like it's personal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about it off camera. And in that case, yeah, we'll talk about that. But okay, I rarely do these in person, so this is going to be a little bit fun and interesting. Bear with me.
Okay, very.
So the type that I believe that you are is, for Melissa, ESFP. And obviously, you might not really know what that all means, but essentially, E stands for extrovert, S stands for sensing, F stands for feeling, P stands for perceiving. We're going to talk about all of that. So when people first get into the Myers-Briggs personality types, there's 16 of them in total. And people usually, they only know of the dichotomies. So like E versus I, S versus N, F versus T, P versus J. Essentially, E stands for extrovert, like I said, and the opposite of it is I for introversion. Everyone is extroverted, everyone is introverted, everyone is sensing, everyone is intuitive, everyone's feeling, everyone is thinking. But it's more about like which do you prefer more? It's kind of like being right-handed versus left-handed. And most people, when they think of extroversion and introversion, then you'll hear things like, oh, where do you get your energy from? For me, or not even just for me, like for many people, is that Louis?
No.
Oh, it's not? Okay. Just it looked like Louis. I was like, okay.
No, it's definitely the print, but it's not real. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, just making sure. Anyway, just notice that. Okay, so the real definition of extroversion and introversion is not necessarily where do you get your energy from, like with people or whatever, but where do you focus your energy? So for introverts, they focus their energy internally. So like whether it be like their values, their ideas, their impressions, abstract concepts, whatever it might be. For extroverts, they focus their energy externally, whether it be accomplishing tasks, whether it be experiences, whether it be like different ideas and like exploring different like novel ways of like going about things, or even like interpersonally. So for you, I believe that you are someone who's more of an extroverted person, not necessarily in the sense that you love people or whatever all the time, but more that it seemed like throughout the session, you are more focused on the external world, and you do have a lot of like internal world reflection as well, but it's what's external that seems to be more real for you. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now, sensing, the opposite of sensing is intuition. And I feel like this one was pretty much a given. So for sensors, they love to be able to see what's factual, verifiable, reliable, realistic, consistent, all of that. Whatever they can pretty much see with their five senses and observe in that way. Intuitive types, they love to go into all the abstract, conceptual, philosophical, metaphorical things and pretty much discuss things that are behind the curtain. They like to explore different like concepts. They like to talk about the metaphysical. They like to all that stuff that I was saying earlier about like, oh, aliens, or do we really exist, or what does love mean? Like all of those types of conversations. Like that's what an intuitive would like to spend most of their time thinking about and reflecting on. What is life? Whereas sensors, they're usually thinking about more of the day to day and stuff that's like just more tangible. I feel like you're more of a sensor type. Would you agree?
I agree.
Got you. All right. Feeling versus thinking. Another one I feel like you probably like really go with. But I think that you're good with both of these, which makes sense when we get to the mental processes. So a feeler type is someone who makes their decisions based off of their values, how like being true to who they are, and how pretty much something might make other people feel. Whereas thinker types, they make decisions based off of like metrics, based off of like data, like what's objectively true, what makes sense, things of that nature. Like I said, I think that you have both, but I feel like your most natural preference is feeling. Would you agree with that? Awesome. And then the last one is perceiving versus judging. So a perceiver type is someone who actually prefers variety. They pretty much are able to quickly respond to things that come their way, and they're honestly a little bit more like open ended. Whereas like a judger type, they love to have all their ducks in a row. They're not usually going to be quick to like respond to things in a way, and they they essentially don't also like to explore a lot of different options. So that's mother. She can wait. But I would say that you're a perceiver type. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
So I have a
So
question.
yes, absolutely.
So is this like, are there boring types?
Are there boring types?
Well, you probably don't want to say that. Do you want to say it off camera? But no, I'm just kidding. But okay, you don't have to answer that question.
No,
But,
I can answer that one because I was gonna ask. It depends on how you define boring. I feel like there are definitely types that you would find boring.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then those types, you're actually like ESFP is actually known as like one of the most fun types, and so there's that. And if anything, it's
That's so
easy.
funny. No, because fun types are probably like fun in person and then go home and cry.
Is that you?
Sometimes, not frequently. But I don't know. I also had another question. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
When
ask
you
as many
were,
questions as you like.
describing it, it was making me think of like the opposite ones. And do you feel like types can clash with each other?
Yes.
Because like we just completely do not think the same, or you feel the same about stuff.
Absolutely.
So do you think it's better to be opposite, or do you think it's better to, or just depend?
So
on the
what I like
maturity
to
of
tell
each
people, yeah,
person.
like every type is able to get along, but it depends on maturity. It depends on what you're actually like looking for, all of that. And there's some that more easily get along than others do. So I think that's like a big one. Just like with the whole boring versus like interesting. So even though like your type is known as like more lively and interesting, charismatic, fun, and everything like that, like I think of people like Kevin Hart, Will Smith. But then you also think of someone like Whitney Houston. They're just like
Whitney Houston is type?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so relatable because she's just so like the stuff that she says is just facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's
to me,
big.
It's facts, and
Yeah.
then also her being like kind of loony just resonates with me.
I feel
She
that.
kind of comes off as kind of like, but she's just so set on it and just being herself. She's not like, oh, you felt a way about that. Oh, let me change it. She's just like, you know?
Yeah. And in fact, we're gonna talk about that right now. But after I stop the camera, then I'm gonna actually throw out like we're gonna talk about the boring thing that you were bringing up and all of that. So keep that in mind in case I forget. But speaking of, like just speaking facts and all of that. So for the ESFP, I just explained to you what we call the dichotomies right here, the ESFP. But what most people don't know is that every type has 4 mental processes. There's 8 mental processes in total. I see them as coins. So it's like, if you're gonna have this, you're always gonna have this. If you're gonna have this, then you're always gonna have this somewhere. And so the way that Personality Hacker, that's the company that I pretty much am getting my certification from, the way they view it is like a 4-passenger car. So you'll have your driver function,
you'll have your co-pilot function, you'll have your 10-year-old function, and then you'll have your 3-year-old function. And it pretty much goes from strongest, second strongest, third strongest, least strongest. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it can be like out of order.
Um,
I mean, not out of order, but other types it can be.
yeah.
One of them will be stronger.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So I'm driven by what?
You're driven by a function called extroverted sensing, also known as sensation. So that's your driver function. That is all about pretty much being present in the moment, but mostly being able to respond quickly.
Okay.
So this is the part of you that's like, hey, like, I don't really have to be aware. I honestly feel like you're more aware than other people might think that you are, and that you might even think that you are. Because usually for our driver function, we don't tend to brag on it that much because we're just so good at it. It's like the water that we're like, if you're a fish in water, pretty much. It's like, oh no, water doesn't really exist, but it's like, dude, you're like the best swimmer out here, And so I feel like that's kind of like how you are. Like, and I know even from knowing you, like, ever since you were younger, like you made a whole. I'm never gonna forget that you freaking cut up an American flag and made a whole like outfit out of that. And then even how you're able to observe like the trends in New York and everything, and then Atlanta styles. Like you're being aware of like all of that, and you're gathering that sensory information, the patterns from that, and being able to be like, oh, okay, because that's what you're interested in, like with fashion and stuff like that. And then you're like, yeah, I'm not all that. Well, actually, I do know I'm pretty good with makeup, and I'm good with my hair. So I guess that's all that I really. And it's like, didn't you just say you're not really that good? But I think it's also because like you set like higher standards maybe for yourself.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, also one thing to that I'm gonna add, but about the fashion thing, I feel like I don't really know who I am fashion wise because I just know, like if I went to New York, I would dress like that. If I was in Atlanta, I would dress like that. If I went to LA, I would dress like that. So I don't say like I'm set on like I have a look.
That makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. Because, well, I guess, so keep that in mind, because that's actually going to your co-pilot. But your driver, the last thing about it is that, because all of these have different aspects to them. And so one of the aspects of being like in the moment of sensation is also like being in the moment, quick responding, stuff like that. Then another one is seeing things just for what they are. So when you said like Whitney Houston, she just speaks facts. It's like no riddles, no parables, none of that. It's like, bro, just tell me straightforward like what it is. That's what sensation is. So a lot of times people, for example, because the opposite side of sensation, like if this is a coin, your 3-year-old is perspectives, which we're going to talk more about in a moment. But that's the like people who have perspectives as a driver, they're the ones, they would then have sensation as their 3-year-old. So then for them, they're not really just focused on like the facts, but it's more of like, but what does this possibly mean? And let's do this and let's do that. And these are probably the people who, for example, other people might find them interesting, like, oh, but like, no, that guy, like, he was staring at that butterfly and he was like, see, that's an omen because that's actually what God used to do this and boom, boom. And then someone like you might look at that and be like, dude, it's just a butterfly. Like, what are you reading into?
I feel like it's just a butterfly, but I think it's so cool that they can see.
Exactly.
Like how that's so, like, mean something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me like wish I could do that too.
And that's funny because our 3-year-old tends to be an aspiration for us. So when we're younger, a lot of times we tend to like push it away. But then as we grow older, then we tend to integrate more of the 3-year-old because it's the flip side coin. So you want these all to work together. And that's usually what I do as a coach. Like I try to get all of these to work together in your car. That way you can be able to operate in a manner that's like a well-oiled car pretty much, or like a team. So
do personality types change?
No, not in my opinion. They develop, but they don't change. So like you've always been ESFP, but you are a different type of ESFP than you were when you were younger, because now you've developed more of your perspectives function, or now your effectiveness function has also changed in certain ways and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going to your co-pilot function, it's a function called authenticity. This function is a function that's always pretty much asking, how do I feel about this? How did this make me feel? How did that make me feel? Who am I as a person? What are my core values? And from using this, like you're able to observe your own motivations, and then from looking at the nuance of your motivations and your feelings and all of that, and understanding them on a deep level, you're also able to now understand other people's emotions and what they went through on a deep level. That's part of you why you love to read books, and you're like, oh, I see how they made the decisions. I love the bad people in there, because it's like that's where your authenticity is like, wow, I understand why they made these decisions by following their story. um, Most people, or not most people, but a lot of people of your type. So every personality type, they tend to skip their co-pilot function because it's the opposite attitude of their driver. So that's where you'll get a lot of people who say like, I'm ambiverted, because though like everyone has an extroverted function and an introverted function, but it depends on, what your driver and your co-pilot is. So if your driver is an introvert, then your co-pilot's going to be an extrovert. If your driver is an extrovert, then your co-pilot's going to be an introvert. So for you, or for people of your type, usually they'll skip their authenticity process and go right over to effectiveness. That's the flip side coin of authenticity. So effectiveness.
So what do you mean they skip it?
Yeah, let me explain here. So effectiveness is also known as extroverted thinking. That's the technical term for it. For an ESFP, it's a 10-year-old function. So this is a function that's all about getting things done, focusing on what works, what doesn't work, on to the next one. How am I going to make money? Resource management, stuff like that. This is when you'll get people. So like ESFP, for example, they could skip over. Okay, I'm trying to make a decision, but I just want money. I just want money. I just want to be able to make a quick decision. And then authenticity might come in and be like, guys, I don't know. I feel like we should probably think a little bit more. Do we actually, resonate with this company? Do we actually resonate with this decision? Is this really true to who we are? Are we in a good place emotionally for this relationship? Do we want to, whatever it might be?
Like, is it worth trading for money?
Exactly. And then sensation and effectiveness are like pretty much, they come together because they share the same attitude of extroversion. Like, man, see, authenticity is trying to get us to introspect. We're not trying to do that. That's going to try to get us to slow us down. Sensation and effectiveness, when they come together, they just want to move. So that's why, like, for example, you said that you're someone who tends to move too fast or too impulsively. And sometimes all they really hear is they'll take something small from authenticity, like, oh, let's just take this feeling real quick, and then we'll amplify it to get what we want, because they're using effectiveness here. But when you really focus in on authenticity, and you really like get even a better honing of who you are, what your feelings are, and really like learning to get more of a grip on them and molding them and shaping them, that's where you're going to find your center. Now that's an anchor for you, so that whenever sensation is out exploring, looking at the variety, doing whatever, it's always going to look at the co-pilot like, is this true to who we are? Is this what we actually want in life? Is this, in alignment with our core values, with whatever? And once it checks in with that, then effectiveness can be like, okay, now that I know that you two are on the same page, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we can get the job done, and we won't feel bad about it later on.
So do some people like not have that inside of them where they're like, does this line up with my morals?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people even have it as an inferior function. So a 3-year-old, which is like, they're not even really like thinking about it. And if they have it as a 3-year-old, then that means that their 10-year-old function, that means that the effectiveness will be a driver for them. So all they're focused on is like getting money, doing this, doing that, doing that. Oh, but don't you think that's kind of mean for the company? Who cares? We're making money. It's like,
those seem to be the most successful people.
Yeah.
Not unfortunately, they just are successful because they don't care who they have to step on.
Exactly.
And when you care who you have to step on, then you end up being the person that gets stepped on.
That's
Typically.
exactly right.
So yeah.
Yeah. And of course, there's healthy versions of those types where they see that in themselves and then they integrate that 3-year-old so that it's like, okay, when I was younger, I used to be really bossy. This is actually also the bossy part of you. It's a 10-year-old. But then remember how you said that, do you feel like I asked you, like, do you feel like you're good at that? And no.
I feel like I'm not good because it's not, my approaches aren't effective.
Mhm.
But I feel like if I use it in a different area of my life, then it would be a good thing.
Exactly. That's why it's more of a 10-year-old. 10-year-olds, they're not adults, but they still say smart things every once in a while.
That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
And you can apply it to your life.
Yeah, like you have your own business right now and everything. And so it's like, it's clear that you do have something here, and you love doing hair. So you've pretty much like built into your authenticity enough to be able to understand, like, okay, like this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it, whatever. And you've pursued that. And so that's good. So like in that area, then you've allowed your authenticity and your effectiveness to be in alignment, so that when you get into sensation and you're just going about things, which sensation is also the part of you that's like, if people were to see, which they do, like not only like the styles that you have, like with your fashion and everything, but also the way that you do hair, that's a superpower. That's your driver function. Like you didn't even, like you said, oh yeah, I love to do hair or whatever like that. But like that's your sensation as your driver. That's what makes you be able to like freaking put Nipsey on someone's head, like with braids, or like just being like, oh yeah, this is actually like my first time like doing locks, but I just watched someone do it and then I just imitated it and stuff like that. Or even as a young child, like just being able to mess with like Barbies and Brats. Like Barbies don't usually get their hair done, but you added some sauce to it. So that's like sensation right there. It's like like the water that you just swim in. Now, when you go to perspectives as your 3-year-old function, this is the part of you that we tend to go to in times of stress. So in times of stress, people of your type, which I didn't really see too much of this from you in our session, so I think that's a good sign. But in times of stress, people of your type, they usually tend to really worry about the future. They get out of sensation where it's like, hey, I'm just going to relax. I feel like everything's just going to work itself out. I'm just in the moment. I'm just coasting. I'm taking it one day at a time. That's a sensation, kind of perspective. But when they're not really in there and then they get into what we call a grip of that 3-year-old, then they start, oh no, but like how are my finances going to be? Like, oh man, but how is this going to happen? Like, oh man, but like how is this? And like they're really thinking like super far out and they're not taking it day by day anymore. So then they get paralyzed and they start to like freak out about one specific thing. Like, okay, no, this is just going to crash and burn. That like I cannot evade this. Have you ever?
I'll be able to explain that to you after we've yeah.
Gotcha.
Why my 3-year-old is probably like 6 months right now.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. And this is also once again the part of you that.
But it can go in and out. Like it's like sometimes I either feel it intensely or I don't feel it at all.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like you've been through enough things to help you move through that. And I feel like especially going into like being a mother, that does change a lot of stuff for you too.
Right.
Yeah. Cause like I said, I've known you for a while. And so like, this is one of those things. It's like, I can see when that has been like a thing for you, but I've also seen how much you've grown over the years and everything. So I think that's pretty dope.
Which one was the moral one again?
Authenticity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say that I can see why like and this is just about relationships, like regular relationships, like when women end up being with like an abuser for like their whole lives. Like I guess it's like maybe could it be like a lack of like morals, not morals, but like feeling like I don't know, something that they're not tapping into that makes them feel like they can't more, or what is it that makes them feel like they can't get out of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. If I'm understanding your question correctly, you're pretty much talking about like Stockholm syndrome in a way, where it's kind of like if someone gets kidnapped and then they have been kidnapped for like 3 months and now the kidnapper is like setting them free, but then they
don't
refuse
really
to
want to leave.
Yeah. Is that kind of like the same thing?
Kind of, yeah. Because it's like, some women, like, I don't know if you know any family members or stuff, but they'll just be with somebody who doesn't treat them right for like ever.
Yeah.
Now me, I feel like I'll be with somebody that doesn't treat me right for a couple of years, which is still not good. But I have to get to a place in myself where it's like I have to be fed up with it.
Yeah.
So
You
do
have
some
to
people
find
just
who you
never
are and
get
what
fed
you
up
want.
with it? Or
Yeah.
do they accept it? Or do they just...
It's more of an acceptance. It's more like they now have gotten so used to what they're in and they know what to expect. So because they know, like, okay, well, I've learned to adapt in this. And so now if I get out of this, I'm in territory that I do not know how to navigate, even if it might be better. And because I do not know how to navigate this territory, but I've been navigating this territory for the past 3 months, and I've been learning, like, oh, when I put salt and pepper on the chicken, he doesn't slap me as hard. So I'm just trying to learn to be better in this way, boom, boom, boom. And oh, if I like do this, then he also won't do this, stuff like that. Then they feel like, okay, I have a little bit more stability here. Because again, like I'm comfortable, not fully comfortable, but
sorry,
like,
things
yeah.
are just so randomly funny to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like you have to realize at a certain point that they just hate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't really do anything better.
Mm-hmm.
It might make the day better for you, but it doesn't make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And I feel like that's the thing. Like a lot of people aren't able to grasp that.
Yeah.
And that's where it like becomes hard. But it does go back to authenticity process too, like knowing who you are, knowing like what your value is, and knowing what you'll stand for, pretty much. And even like how you said, like, oh yeah, you with your sensation, like going a little bit on a lighter note, like you said that, oh yeah, if I was in New York, I would just switch, I would just wear whatever they're wearing. Because you're still attentive enough to what everybody's wearing like around you. And even though your perspectives is a 3-year-old, you're still having some patterns. It's just all feeding your driver. So we didn't really talk yet about the perspectives. We're about to in a moment. But your authenticity would be the part of you that's like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is whatever. So this is my style. And so now, whatever I decide to wear, it's going to be checked in with, okay, is this who I am? What does this say about me? You know what I mean? So then you won't just be exploring the variety and sensation and all that. Oh, what is everyone else wearing? And then you match that. But instead, you're going to have your own, style, and you won't be as easily moved. And so, yeah. And then in a moment, we're going to actually talk about Jamila, who is
her type too.
It's the flip. So she's the introverted version of you. So her driver and her co-pilot are flip, and then her 3-year-old and her 10-year-old are flip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, I'll bring up her cards and even mine in a moment too, and then we'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, just lastly, 3-year-old is perspectives. So this is the function, once again, that's all about like, exploring the abstract and everything like that. And that could also be where you get into a grip. And it's like, oh, I'm paranoid about the future, etc. But once you've integrated it, then it's tracking patterns in your life. So everything that you're experiencing, then now you're seeing like a through line of all of that. Like, oh, I've been to New York twice, and these are the patterns I've realized. They start to wear this. Or when I'm here in Atlanta, these are the patterns I've realized, boom, boom. Now, when people have this like higher, then their patterns tend to be more things like, okay, I've been dealing with people in this way, and these are the patterns I've been realizing. Okay, when I like start to do this, then these are like, it's like now their patterns start to become more complex and more abstract, and therefore a little bit less factual, because the higher that this is, the lower that this is. And so this is all about, the facts. And it's not that this can never be right, but it's kind of like, when people get into astrology, then it's like, okay, we're just looking at the patterns of stuff. But the more we try to like just pattern recognize and we go kind of like behind the curtain, then the more we can't really know things for certain.
It's more generalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is where you'll get preachers who like,
oh my gosh, you don't have to go there.
Yeah. Yep. You already know.
No, I can't even go to a church like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ABC 1, 2, 3, so like, or like one size fits all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. And that's also the part of you where it's like somebody's talking about like, oh, orange, and you're like, it's an apple. And so this, again, they call it perspectives because it's easily able to hop into other people's perspective and be like, okay, wait, I see why they think that it's an orange. And if I like actually did adopt that perspective, like, okay, this is an orange and boom, 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 and now I start to like collect it, maybe we'll realize that both of us are actually kind of wrong. Like, it's not an apple or an orange; it's actually a pear. And now you start going into this whole like other territory.
Right.
Yeah. But people of your type do tend to like stay in this and say, it just is what it is. Just it's an apple. It's just why are you trying to complicate it? And
I'm trying not to do that anymore though.
yeah, and that's good. You're
I have to grow
integrating
my
that.
3-year-old up.
Well, I can already see it like developing, and the more that you'll be able to, the easiest way to develop your 3-year-old is to continue to develop your co-pilot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they are the two introverted people in your car. So your co-pilot and your 3-year-old are always interacting, just like your 10-year-old and your driver are always interacting. And the goal is to get just all 4 of them to be interacting. So the more that you feed your co-pilot of like continuing to get into your values, what you want in life, like who you are as a person, all of that, understanding your emotional territory, then you're going to be also able to not only control your emotions and everything and not feel like you're overbearing, but you're also going to be able to better understand other people's emotions and their stories, just like you do, like when you read the books and everything. Now you won't even have to know someone's whole life story, but you'll be able to just hop into perspectives like, that's why you see that as an orange, because when you were growing up, then this is what happened in your life, and boom, 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 and this is the way that has shaped your worldview. And you know what? Now I'm able to understand that because I looked into seeing why I view that as an apple, because my life circumstances, boom, boom, boom. But if you never get into your authenticity, then you're never going to be able to get into your perspectives to be able to be like, this is what made me start seeing things in this way. That's when you get, again, like super religious people who, for example, like they've only been grown to like indoctrinated to learn just one thing. And so now it's like they can't see. It's like, no, that's a demon. I really don't think that's a demon, bro. I think it's just a cartoon show. It's like, no, it's a demon. Trust me. Why are you trying to tell me it's not this when it's this? And it's like, well, they grew up in a different worldview. So if you have that perspective, you're able to understand, like, oh, okay, I understand.
When you don't agree with them, they're like, you just completely turned away from God. Like,
yes,
oh
exactly.
my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any questions on that so far? Awesome. Do you feel like it resonates with you?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Oh, cool. And the MacBook is dying. So just in time. End it here.
Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.